Welcome back, Double Teamed fam. How are we doing? Today we welcome CEO of Woo More Play. She's a shining personality. I really love her. But Woo More Play has organic sex products for women. So we welcome Mackie Swan. How are you?
I'm doing so well. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited to chat.
I know, me too. We hit it off at that Sex on the Beach event. Like, I feel like we were just like on the same level.
We really were. I left and I was like, I think those two are my soul sisters, like soul family level. It happened right away.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly. I felt the exact same way.
We had a blast. And it was a good event. Actually, I just interviewed someone yesterday that we also met at that event. There were like some really great people there.
Yeah.
For like, you know, especially in like the sex and wellness space. And like, you know, they're all like powerful women. It was really inspiring, I thought. And you were one of them.
No, it's so fun for me to go to an event like that because I've been in the sexual wellness industry for many, many years. Mm-hmm. And so it makes me so happy to have events like that, like here in LA, where there's just a strong local community of entrepreneurs and educators and sex workers. I feel like we're a real thing now, you know, we're a real community. So it's super fun.
I love it. No, I agree. And like I said, just like getting to meet everyone and talk and just like you see all these like really great minds like coming together. I loved it. So hopefully, we'll be back at the next one next year when they do it again. Yeah. So, okay. But to start off with some icebreakers, just so our audience can get to know you a little bit. This is a more recent question I've been asking. And if it takes you a minute, that's okay. But my question is, if aliens come about in the world, what do you hope their penises look like?
Oh my gosh. That is such a good question. I want to say on the spectrum of human-like to completely foreign, I would want them to err slightly more human-like because if not, I think I would freak out. Mm-hmm. But it would also depend on just their general temperament. Like, are these aliens pretty chill and pretty gentle and approachable?
Let's assume they want to fuck us.
Okay, but like aggressively want to fuck us?
No, like in a healthy, loving way.
So then I think we can get a little weird. I think, you know, different shapes are on the table. I think different sizes are on the table. As long as they're respectful, then I think we can get fucking weird with the alien penises.
I love that.
Yeah.
I remember when I was thinking about it, because I've actually put a lot of thought into this and I don't know. I just don't want them to be shaped like forks. Or anything along those lines, but it would be really cool if it was like, you know how like Stitch can like grow different, like, or his like legs and stuff come out. I was like, what if you have like a small, medium, and a large?
Or it's dynamic.
Yes.
Like maybe what you see when they first present it isn't its like permanent state. I think it's a dynamic situation.
Yeah.
Which sounds really fun, if I'm being honest.
What if it can like go in there and then turn into like a ball?
Yeah. Or
That's
different
what
shapes.
I just pictured. Yeah.
Although if that happens, I might be out of a job because I feel like if aliens invade and they can do whatever they want with their penis shapes and size, sex toys, like, do we even fully need them at that point? I don't know.
That's actually a great question. I hadn't thought that far. But I've seen sex toys that have like aired on the side of like foreign.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Yeah. So, and then those are the times that have been like interesting. Now, what if that was like actually on a person?
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Okay, well, I will be thinking a lot more about this. So if you guys get any weird texts from me at, you know, the middle of the night, like, just, I'm sorry, but you have planted a seed and I do need to meditate on this. So
I love that. Well, and actually my next question was going to be, as, you know, someone that, you know, is obviously the leader of a sex toy company. What was your first sex toy?
Oh my gosh. Okay. It's kind of a long story.
Let's hear it.
When I was in undergrad, I think I was a sophomore. It was before, you know, I had fully, I think, kickstarted my feminist journey. And I definitely had some like internalized misogyny, slut shamey, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I had been kind of venting to one of my roommates at the time. I lived in a sorority with her and saying like, I feel like I've slept with too many people. I need to slow down, whatever. I was having this moment of self-judgment.
Yeah.
And she had said to me, you know, you don't need to feel that way, but if you do, why don't you just get a vibrator? And I had just never, I think I was 18 or 19 at the time, had never bought a vibrator, don't know why, had been having sex for many years at that point.
I was the same way. Yeah.
and just had never like taken the time to purchase a toy for myself. And so I went home for Christmas break, and I remember getting in the mail a vibrator from her with a little note that's burned in my brain because it was the moment that I think solidified a lifelong friendship with her. She sent me this little blue vibrator and a note that said, "From now on, the only thing that you're going to be counting is your number of O's." And it was just like a simple bullet vibe, and of course changed my life. And I was like, how did I wait this long to buy a vibrator? And also, she's one of my best friends to this day. So
That's a
that's a great
story.
friend. Yeah. And it kind of helped me release the fear or whatever I was going through about like sleeping around, you know?
Well, I love that she said, that like, you don't need to be worrying about this, but like, here's a potential solution. Just like, what a great friend all around.
100%.
And then to like go a step further and like buy you a vibrator, send it to you with this cute note.
Yeah.
That's really great. I love that.
That's a real one for sure.
It's funny because I was the same way. I'd been having sex for a long time, but I'd never like really masturbated and then I had a friend that bought me a little bullet vibrator as well. And it was also blue. And so when you said that, I was like, but synchronicities. But anyways, and I just remember like when she gave me that, I got so mad because then I was shaming myself too. And I was just like, oh, she thinks I'm that sexual that like I want a vibrator. And like and immediately like it was just a lot of, internalized shame, misogyny, whatever you want to call it. But then I started using it, and then I was like, oh, this is fantastic. And I was like, why have I waited this long to use a vibrator? I had no idea, 100%. And I love that thing.
100%. Yeah. And it's funny too, and I run into this a lot with the business with women that I meet who are like full-grown adults, married, multiple kids, whatever, and basically confide in me that they don't masturbate or have never had a vibrator. And it's so fascinating because I'm like, why did I not purchase one for so long? It's almost like a permission thing, I think, where somebody had to like say to me, go do this, because I never had the thought. It's not like I had considered it and felt bad about it. It just wasn't even on my radar, which is so insane. So here we are. Same for me.
And even after that vibrator, I don't think I went and purchased another one for myself because that one, like I got plenty of uses out of it, but then it eventually like died or like something happened and I couldn't fix it. And I don't think it was like maybe 3-4 years later when I was like already married and my ex-husband at the time was like deploying that, then I was like, oh, maybe I should get a toy, because he's going to be gone. But up in like between those years, I had like never thought to use one, never purchased one, anything. And only when he left, then finally I was like, oh, maybe I should get one.
Yeah.
So
that's what I was thinking about. I don't think I got my first vibrator until like 5 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. Because it was that pink one. And I got mine 2 years after you?
Yeah.
Wow. It's so funny because it's such a big part of my sexual experience now, like partnered, solo, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'm like, wow, I wasted too much time.
Yeah. Well, now I have too many. That's not a problem having too many vibrators, but now it's like options for
There's
days.
only so many hours in the day. So
exactly.
yeah, I hear you.
Exactly.
I hear you.
Sometimes I'm like, I go in my box and I'm like, who gets to come out and see daylight today?
I do wonder though what my sexual life would have been like if I had discovered vibrators maybe earlier, because once I discovered sex, then I was like, this is fucking great. And I wanted it all the time. And I also, went through a thing where I was like, oh, I should probably slow down. I'm probably sleeping with too many people, And I never thought of a vibrator. I don't know why. And so maybe that, and not that it would have been like better to use a vibrator over like seeking out like partnered sex, but at the same time, I do think maybe I probably would have developed a better, healthier relationship with like myself and my own sex life rather than just like trying to like use men as the only tool. So yeah.
And I think they're so related too, because at least in my personal experience and women that I talk to, you have toys, you have vibrators, you get to know your own body, you get to know what gets you off, and then you kind of bring that into a partnered experience. So it's a win-win.
And it like, I feel like, bringing toys in and stuff, like I've taught men things as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and then because put it on, certain parts of them, and all of a sudden they're like, wow, that feels good. And you're like, yeah.
Welcome. It's a whole new world.
Yeah. Exactly. And then, I've had guy friends that like have come to me asking for like, where can I get like a male vibrator, blah, blah, blah. So That's always fun. But I'm curious, before, Womb War Play, what was your career in the sexual wellness space, or what were you in a different space before?
I was in a different space. I had been working in advertising out of college. I really loved it. Thought I was going to do that forever. I ended up volunteering for a nonprofit that basically sent me around as an educational facilitator to college campuses to like educate young women about how to have healthy relationships and sex lives.
Yeah.
Saw firsthand in very absurd ways, like how much young women did not know how to navigate this part of their life. And I was born and raised in Eugene, Oregon. I wasn't raised with religion. I had a lot of sex ed in my public school system. So I always joke that I kind of missed the memo that we're meant to feel like ashamed of sex or anything like that. Like I never had any weirdness about premarital sex or anything like that.
I love that.
Yeah, which I didn't know was so unusual until I got into this work. But was through this volunteer position, saw how big of a problem it was. I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to do this professionally. Like, screw advertising. I want to do this. Ended up applying for a random job online. It was a brand based out of the Pacific Northwest, also in the sexual wellness space. Got hired. It was a great opportunity at an earlier stage startup. And so I was there for close to 5 years, learning about the industry, learning about the business, and then met the founding team at Woo in 2021, and they brought me on as CEO. So at this point, it's been not quite a decade, but close to 10 years that I've been in the sex space.
That is inspiring.
Yeah.
Wait, so what did your like sex ed look like? If it, I don't know if it leaned more sex positive, but like, how would you describe it?
I mean, I think it was probably as sex positive as it could have been at that time. I mean, I went to public school in Oregon. I do remember, I want to say in grade school, I remember there being like somewhat of a religious aspect to it, of like the only way to prevent pregnancy and STIs is abstinence type of stuff. But by the time I got to middle school and high school, it was very, very like scientific and health focused. And they went over, I think, a lot more than many people got when they grew up. So I felt pretty well equipped, like starting to feel sexual and going into that part of my life as a teenager.
That's great. So maybe like neutral, not positive, not negative, but like neutral.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. At least for us, we grew up in Texas, and it was not great. All I remember was just like learning that like you should not have sex, you know, and then our parents didn't give us the best sex talk either. So, and a lot of our guests that we bring on kind of grew up in religious households and all those things, and kind of like broke out of that, which is great. But I think this is like one of the first times I've heard someone say like, oh, it was actually pretty decent. And like, I felt well equipped, because you don't run across that very often. You don't.
And I think, shout out to my mom, because she was one of those, tell me when you start having sex so that I can take you to the OBGYN to get you on birth control. And I remember when I was in high school, I sat her down and I was like, okay, I'm fucking. And so you said that one time, like that you wanted to get me on the pill. So now's the time. And she did kind of have a moment, and then we scheduled a doctor's appointment. So it was fine.
I was going to ask, was her reaction like pretty, like did she freak out, or was, how did you feel safe at having told her?
I felt totally safe. I do remember I thought it was super funny at the time. She was like, oh, like sex. Yeah. And I'm like, Mom, what do you mean? Like, I just said I'm having sex. She goes, sex? I go, yes.
Is there another type of sex?
I don't know what that means, but I think the answer is yes.
Well, maybe she just wanted to know if you were like being penetrated, or if it was just like fingers and tongue.
Right, right. I think that's what she was getting at. But I was like, at this point, I am pretty confident that there is a risk of pregnancy and we should do something about it. Could be wrong, but I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
No, I think, if I ever have children, I would probably be the same way. And I would want to like be as like descriptive as possible, like make it a very sex positive conversation, and just let them know that like I'm there for them, when that time comes. So Good for her.
Yeah, good for her. And also part of it, I'm the middle of 5, so I have 2 older sisters. Yeah. And so it was partially my parents being kind of chill about it, and then partially just having older sisters who were like, here's what's up.
Yeah.
Well, you're the middle child. They probably didn't know you were there.
No. It's a joke, but it's also not.
They're like, oh right, she's here. Okay.
Yeah. They're like, oh,
happens.
what's that one? What's that one running around? She's so short we can't see her.
There's that one Nate Bargatze comedy special on, I think it's like on Prime or something, where at one point he's like talking about his family, and then he ends the story and he's like, oh, there is a middle child. I almost forgot.
That resonates. The stereotype exists for a reason. I have severe middle child energy.
Really?
Yeah, it can be a problem.
I never sensed that.
Oh,
We're
it's
the
there.
oldest.
Okay.
So I feel like, and I feel like with the oldest, that's like when your parents are like trying everything out. So it's like, we were the first ones to get the sex talk and the first ones to like, I'm pretty sure I was the first one out of the both of us to start having sex. And I'm pretty sure mom and dad figured that out pretty quickly. And so, yeah, I feel like I was the guinea pig, and I took a lot of heat for that, which was not great, but here we are.
Live and learn.
Good time. Okay, so now that you've like transitioned into woo, I'm curious, like, what do you feel like you've been there for a long time? What do you feel like you've contributed to it?
Oh, that's such a good question. I mean, the thing about Woo and the thing that I love the most about the brand is that we really serve a community that I would say is earlier on in their journey of sexual exploration. And what I mean by that is our like women and their partners who buy our products, they're not people who are super comfortable walking into a local sex shop and have purchased a lot of toys and have gotten really experimental. And so it's been really beautiful to have conversations with customers. And this happens all the time where they'll reach out and say, this is the first time I've ever bought a vibrator. Or, I hear from men all the time, my wife doesn't have any toys. I really want to get her a gift. What do you recommend as like kind of a first step into the space? And so I think that we've really just doubled down on like that educational piece and really making it approachable for bringing people along on a journey that they haven't felt comfortable stepping into before.
I love
So
that.
it's super fun.
Yeah, and I would agree. Like the packaging that you guys have is very like it's nice. It feels neutral, or like it feels not
It's
overwhelming.
playful.
Yes.
and but in a good way too. And by that I mean because like you walk into some stores and like you look at the options and there are some that are kind of like very loud and very like kind of and there's nothing wrong with that because. For some people, they love it and they think it's super fun. But for others that maybe haven't purchased toys or lubes or whatever, they get a little overwhelmed by it. So then it's nice to go to the ones that don't feel as
Very
intense.
mindful.
Yeah.
Very demure.
Can somebody explain this to me? Because I'm not on TikTok and I hear that everywhere and I don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
have no idea
I
what
can
it is.
explain it to you because I kept hearing it. Even my partner, well, he was like he was like, do you see the way I'm drinking this beer? He was like, very mindful, very demure. I'm like, what the fuck is that? He was like, you haven't seen it? Anyways, so this person, they were like about to go into work and they did their makeup and they did a video where they were like, do you see the way that I did my makeup? I don't do a green cut crease on a Monday, blah, blah, blah. He was like, I keep it mindful, very demure, very cutesy. And so now that's like the running thing. Everyone's using that.
Okay. I'm into it.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, I'm learning.
Yeah.
Same. I kept seeing it too, and I was like, I know what demure means. I feel like I've been using demure for quite some time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And behoove. I can't wait till behoove makes a comeback because that's one of my favorite words.
Yeah.
I say that word all the time.
Yes.
And so many people don't know what it means. It shocks
Exactly.
me.
I
Yeah.
know.
I love behoove.
I love that word.
Yes.
It would
Yeah.
behoove everybody to learn.
To revisit a little vocab. And I mean that in the least asshole way possible.
Or the most.
Yeah. Depends on the day.
Well, now that makes me curious. What do you feel like you guys do a good job? Actually, we were talking about this with another wellness brand the other day, and they were saying they feel that Gen Z is just like not fucking, so they want to like get Gen Z like more, like active in the bedroom, and I find that interesting because I think there's a lot of things that go into that, just because like I feel like the younger generation is definitely a lot more like aware of like the energy exchange in sex. I think they're also a lot more aware of like kind of, I think they are getting maybe better education just because they have more resources. Like it's not just what you get at school. You can go on social media, you can go find influencers and, YouTube videos and every like Reddit threads on everything. Like I don't think I ever looked up anything on Reddit or YouTube until like college, so it's like, they have like a lot more resources, and so they're more mindful of what they're doing. But anyways, yeah, I'm curious, what do you guys do to kind of appeal to some of that younger generation? And I don't know, do you feel like you see that too, where they're not as like active in the sex space?
It's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
I think frequency of sex among younger demos is way less than it is with our age group and above. And also number of sexual partners, I think, is a lot lower than it used to be. I don't know if it's a bad thing per se. I definitely view it as somewhat of an correction to like this post Me Too era that we're living in. But to your comment a couple moments ago about the packaging and the playful nature of it, like that's something that we're very intentional about, because I think that there was such this moment of reckoning around like sexual misconduct and assault and all of the like pain and trauma that has created, that it's often really difficult for people to talk about sex in like a fun, light, playful way.
Yeah.
Especially if they are like more on the vanilla end and not like in the community. I think that comes up a lot. And so I wouldn't say that we spend too much time or energy specifically saying, okay, how are we marketing to Gen Z? Because frankly, that's not our core consumer. At the same time, I think that it's like okay to have fun talking about sex. And I think that's what we do at Woo, is like, hey, there's a lot of dark, weird shit in the world right now. Let's not bring that into the bedroom. And like, of course, everything needs to be consensual. And of course, there's like this bare minimum of boxes that you have to check to have a healthy and good sexual experience. But once those are like squared away and taken care of, like, let's have fun. Let's get weird. Let's like bring some levity into the conversation. And I think that's something that when I look at the landscape of brands in the world of sex, it doesn't always go that way, you know? And so I think that's something that has worked really well for us.
I love that. No, that's a great answer. And, you know, it's interesting when you're talking about like the demographics and such, it just kind of had me reflecting that, like, I don't know, at least for women, I feel like our sex lives get exponentially better as we age, just because we do start learning so much more of our bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if I had to like look at my sex life, you know, and I've been sexually active since I was 15, 16, you know, and I'm 30 now. So 15 years, I would say it probably wasn't until maybe the last like 5 to 7 that I actually like was able to really start like enjoying sex, getting to know my body, and like getting what I wanted out of sexual experiences. When do you feel like that really started happening for you?
Okay, I don't know what it is, and I've been talking about this a lot lately. I am hornier than ever. Like
Love that.
like the past 2 years probably, I am a monster.
Love.
And I don't know why. Somebody told me that, how old are you both?
30.
30. Okay, I'm 33. Somebody told me that as you approach like later on in your 30s, there's some biological response where it's like your, you know, window of fertility is shortening, and so it's kind of your body's response to that. But it's insane.
That's fascinating.
It's insane. And I think it was like maybe 30, 31 is when it kind of started. And I've always run hot. I've always been like the horny one of my friends.
Yeah.
But it is on another level. It's weird. Like,
Love that.
It's weird.
No, I would agree. And I would say, yeah, my hornier years have been like in the last probably year or two, and it like keeps ramping up.
Yeah.
And so, and like, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Not opposed to it at all. And it's funny because I actually did like a celibacy challenge last year. Just because I was like, you know what, I need some time to like really get clear about like what I want out of my sex life, because like I had spent some time like really trying everything and I loved it and I like went feral, and then I was like, now I want to kind of really like get specific about it. And now that I have, and like I'm kind of like getting to that point, or like doing it with a lot more intention and clarity, like it's been like so much better. And I've like gotten way better at masturbating too.
Yep.
And so now like that has become something that I enjoy a lot more. And it's great to be like in this space, just because like, you know, you learn from so many other people tips and tricks. I remember this one, I was at this, masturbation workshop, and the host, Ashley Manta, a good friend of ours, she was just like, how often do you breathe when you masturbate? And I was like,
Changes everything.
I started breathing while masturbating. I was like, I am 30 years old and I just now learned to like stop like holding my breath. So it's insane, but it really does get so much better.
It gets so much better. And not only do you, in my experience, not only did I learn how to like make myself come more effectively, but also get more out of a single session. Like I feel like I can keep going in a way where even 5 years ago I would have to tap out. And now I'm like, no, let's keep fucking going. So I think that changes too.
Yeah,
for sure.
I would agree.
I never thought of it that way though, because that makes a lot of sense. When you're starting to hit like, I would say probably like around 31, 32 to like 35. That's when your ability to procreate is starting to, this is like the last line. Yeah.
Yep, before it starts going down.
Yep. Exactly. So getting more horny so that you produce makes a lot of sense. I never thought of it that
Whatever
way.
is happening to me feels hormonal. Like it's not a lifestyle thing. It's not. I think that generally speaking, as you age, you do get more confident. But I don't think that there's been any like major changes in anything like that. Something is happening in my body that I am like not in control of that is turning me into a horny monster.
Are you still on birth control?
No, I haven't been in a really long time. I was
going to ask you about that. Yeah. Because we got on it in like right at the beginning of college, and then we got off of it maybe 6 or 7 years later. And I feel like when I got off of it, it was like
Floodgates.
Yep.
Open.
Yeah.
But also like I've gotten to know my body more, and recently what I've started to notice, typically I would get like really horny right before ovulation. Now I'm getting really horny like right before ovulation, during ovulation, a few days after, skip a week, feral and horny again. Like right before my period, it's like all of a sudden I just like need it all the time, and it's like why? And I just started noticing this happening like maybe about a month ago, and I'm like, I wonder if this is like here to stay or like what's going on. But
because
like
we're about to turn 31. Yeah,
exactly, and I'm noticing like the hormonal changes, and it's so fascinating.
No, hopefully it's here to stay.
Yeah.
Like I think it could be, but it is aggressive.
It is.
Yeah, it's aggressive.
I always say like like right before ovulation, like I could fuck a tree.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Anything can go like happen, but
No, it's so weird. It's like not to TMI, but I feel like a teenage boy. I'm like, what is going on? Nobody told me this was going to happen, but here we are.
Do you ever like feel? I don't know about you, but like for example, I have a new partner, and like I feel like sometimes I get especially around that time, like I get super horny, and then like we'll go at it, and then he comes, I come, but then like I still want to go. But that's like when we pull out the vibrator, and it's like here's the helping hand.
Yeah.
And, but he's like more than happy to like do that for me, so I can like get it again. And sometimes I'll like internally I'm like, no, don't feel ashamed because you need to orgasm again or whatever. But yeah, sometimes I like shame myself or whatever.
Don't do that. And also, I think it depends on the partner, and I'm straight, but I've never been with a man who didn't get off on getting me off, you know? True. So it's like, it's a win-win.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It is a shame though that men's refractory periods are nowhere near what ours are.
Right. I know.
Because we can have one and then just have more and keep going.
Yeah. Okay. That was the warm up.
Yeah, exactly. That was a warm up. And then, and I've always wondered biologically why that is the case. Why is it that our bodies are like made so differently? I remember one time, a long time ago, we did an episode on this. I'm like, I'm pretty sure the body is like, like men and men and women and women, like the body is like homosexual, but like obviously, we have the procreation piece of it is heterosexual. Anyways, it was a whole little tangent I went on. But no, I do find it fascinating because I'm bi, and so like the times that I've hooked up with women and you can just keep going, it's like fascinating to me. And I'm like, I wish we could do this with men. But it doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
get with the toy.
That's what we have toys for.
And
hands and mouths and other things. We make it work.
It does help. Now, what I was going to ask was because you're CEO, you've got a demanding lifestyle, and I know sometimes like I really struggle with this, where it's like now I'll use like masturbation or sex for like stress reliever, but like sometimes kind of like getting my body like into that space takes a while. Like for you, especially when you've got a demanding day, but you want to go home with your man and relax and get into it, like what does that look like for you? Calvin tried joy mode.
Oh, he did?
Yes. He said the biggest difference he saw was in firmness, which is something that joy mode helps with. So, but yeah, that's what he said. He saw the biggest thing. And I know he takes a lot of supplements and pre-workouts for like his normal workouts. So I don't know, how that all would affect other things, but yeah.
I love the bag that you and I have. So we got that bag mailed to us because we requested more product. And then our cat, Greywind, who loves to chew on plastic decided he wanted to try joy mode, but it's not for cats.
It's for humans.
So,
And if you want a really firm, nice moment
schlong, if you will,
to
then
sport around for your partner in bed, try Joy Mode.
Tryjoymode.com. New website, tryjoymode.com, and use code double team to get 20% off.
Yeah, I get this question all the time of like, how can I get in the headspace of wanting to have sex if I'm high strung or high stress or whatever? And to be clear, I am neurotic as fuck. I'm extremely type A. I'm like extremely high strung. But it's never really worked for me to approach it from that narrow of a view. Like it's never been effective for me to be like, oh, I'm super stressed and whatever, and I just need to get in the mindset immediately. And I've certainly had phases of life where I haven't felt as sexual and I've suffered from a lower libido and that's impacted my sex life. But the way that I think about it now is just how can I kind of like maintain a baseline level of horniness so that it doesn't require me to like be as intentional about tapping in and out of it. And what I mean by that is like having sex more frequently, masturbating a lot, like trying new toys, trying new things. And then I feel like it's just kind of always there and it doesn't require that coming in or out of it.
I love that. That's a great answer. And I feel like, you know, kind of the same thing. The more you get to know your body and everything, I feel like I've gotten to a place where now I'm maintaining a lot more rather than, because I've also been where it's like my libido has been all over the place. And it gets frustrating sometimes because like you get to a place where you feel like you finally learned yourself and then you're like, oh, libido's gone. And then you're like, what the fuck just happened? And then you got to learn all over again. And so, and then you kind of get to know maybe the more like cyclical nature of your body and everything. And so, and it's nice when you kind of feel like you can get to a place where you're like, okay, you know, even if you do get a lower libido, like it's not forever, you know, it'll come back. I know that I can do things to like get back to it. And I think that's like a really nice place to like, you know, get to with your body, with yourself, and then with your confidence. And then it's easier kind of hit that like baseline level, like you said.
Yeah. And it's also, I think, just doing things every day, like regardless of whether or not you're actually having sex, that make you feel sexy, right? It's like staying in your body. Like when I feel super hot, I'll just take a shit ton of nudes and maybe they're not going anywhere. Maybe I'm just going to look at them later when I'm like playing with myself. But like stuff like that where I feel like I just feel sexy and then it's just there.
I love that because I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Either I take nudes because I'm like feeling myself, or like I'll wear like if I have like one of those like silk kind of like dresses things, I'll just wear it around the house all day. You know, if I'm like working from home and I don't have anything to do, and so then you just like feel sexy longer, and then like that kind of like helps.
I love that.
With the libido as a whole.
I love that.
Yeah.
I need to take more nudes.
Yeah, you do need to take more nudes. You do. I don't know how many you take, but it actually does. I feel like it solves a lot of problems.
I think it would. Honestly, like sometimes, you know, you take a fire picture of yourself, you're like, wow, like I look really good. But I don't think I do that.
And then you're having a bad day and you're like, let me just scroll a little.
And
like
then you're
it's
wow,
fine.
This
like,
is me. And then you're like, I'm that bitch.
It's fine.
How could I even not be in a great mood right now? I'm curious now because you are partnered. And so, and you've been with your partner for quite a long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
What's your relationship style? Like, are y'all monog?
Yes.
You're monogamous.
Yes. 100%.
And what do you feel like, because I've been in a long-term relationship and I know that that can look up and down as well. And sometimes like you're up while they're down.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, how do we meet in the middle? You know, so I'm curious if you're open to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, kind of some of the ways that you've like maintained that over the years.
I think a lot of it comes down to novelty. And I think that there's so many things that you can try and explore even in the context of a monogamous relationship.
Agreed.
And so I think anytime things are feeling stale, like bringing something new in is a good way to spice it back up and get both of you excited again. At the same time, I think that when you've been with somebody for a long time, sometimes circumstances just mean that you're not going to be having that much sex.
Yeah.
And like, that's not fun and nobody like wants to talk about that or admit it. But when I think over the last few years, like a few years ago, I had a personal loss where I was like deeply grieving. I was not horny at all for like several months.
Yeah.
And so I think just knowing that that's going to happen and that there will be another side to it and you'll get through it is also okay. You know, I think that, I get this with woo customers a lot who are in long-term marriages or maybe have, small children or whatever and feel like their sex life is just shot. Part of it is, okay, how can we make this better? How can we like take some active steps to improve it? And then the other part is like, maybe it's just okay that you're having less sex for a while. Like you don't need to feel bad about it. You don't need to feel ashamed of it. It's just life is life and sometimes shit happens.
Yeah. No, I would agree because like, I was I was married for 7, we were together almost 9-10 years, and then now I'm like entering a more serious relationship again, and like automatically my mind goes to, okay, well, I know what happens when you're with someone for a long time, and sometimes like the sex life changes, and I think like what always brought me a lot of peace in my marriage previously was just like remembering the cyclical nature of it and be like, you're going to be on the upswing again. And so like, it's okay, just be conscious of it and don't let it get like too far down the rabbit hole that like you don't even know how to get out of it for the most part, like as long as you're aware and at some point you're like willing to like put the energy back into it again, then you'll be back on the upswing.
Yeah. And not trying to force something if it's not working in the moment, and I think that's a personality thing too, but I'm super lucky. My partner is really open to trying new stuff and also trying things that I'm interested in, even if it's not something that like he would have brought to the table. And so I think just having that mindset and having that curiosity and just an attitude of like, fuck yeah, I'm down. Let's see what happens is fun.
I'm curious if there's ever been anything that either of you brought to the table that the other was like, no.
That has happened. I don't know if I'm going to say what, but it has happened. We're still working on it.
Okay.
But, I do feel like there's a couple things where I brought them to the table and it's been like, that's maybe too far.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
No, it is. And like, I know for myself, I've explored a lot in kink and sexuality and stuff. So like, I'm very, very, very open-minded. And I just remember, especially like right at the very beginning of my relationship, my partner and I were kind of just like going through the laundry list of things. And I was actually really pleasantly surprised that a lot of them, he was like, okay, I haven't tried that, but down, and I'm like, great. But yeah, there's definitely been a few of those as well, where it's like, you know what, we're going to see if maybe we can come around to that. But yeah, no. And I think that can also be like so fun. And at least for me, or Cami and I both, like we've read a lot of books that have like given us a lot of ideas. And so like, I always like encourage people, like if you don't know where to start, like smut this day and age is really good.
So great.
Yeah.
So great. And the other thing too is if there's something that one partner wants to try that the other person isn't comfortable with, there's ways to incorporate that fantasy or that kink or that fetish, whatever, without actually doing the thing. You know, maybe you're not comfortable doing it. Okay, maybe you have sex watching porn while they're doing it, or like maybe there's kind of a light touch of it that you can introduce. And so that's another way that I look at it when it's like, okay, maybe we're not aligned on like the act itself, but how can we like pull elements from it that turn me on that will still be exciting and still bring that element of novelty in a way that feels comfortable for everybody.
Yeah. What comes to mind with that for me is I have a knife kink. And I love it when someone just drags a knife across my body without cutting me, consensually and in a safe space, of course. But, over the years, every time I introduce that to someone, they're like, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't want to cut you. And I'm like, totally get it. So I have these claws and they like go at the ends of my fingers and they like come to a point. They're made by a knife maker and they look badass as fuck. And so then I just like, I have a few that are like larger than my fingers. And so they can go on like a man's hands and I give them those. And then they're like all over it. They're like little kitty cats. That. And so, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you can definitely find ways that like, okay, it's not a knife and it does, but it can still give me like, I like the knife because then it's like that extra added like danger piece to it. But this, like, it's still just as sharp, gives me very similar sensation, and it's fun, and it's a lot easier to introduce someone to that rather than just like, here's a knife, let's bring that into the bedroom.
And still scratches that itch.
Yes.
Still scratch. And I've run into that before, not in my current relationship, but I've run into that with past partners where I've said, hey, I want to do this thing. And it is that reaction of, okay, I don't want to hurt you. And I also don't know you that well. And like, is this too far? Where is that line? And so that's like a good introduction.
Yeah.
Wait, does your current partner want to try knife play?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
I know, I'm excited. And I can't bring the claws when I go because other TSA will take them. So
That will be a problem in the security
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
Wait, where are the claws? I kind of want to take them.
they're in my bathroom. Actually, you know what that reminds me of?
What?
And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, especially since you like, I know you said you have like a closet full of like a lot of the
So
stuff.
many. Yeah.
One time I was at the airport and we were going to a live show. And
Oh, yeah, on the way to New York.
yeah, on the way to New York, we were going to a live show, and I was bringing this one dildo that I have because we always do a dildo challenge at the live show. And my bag got pulled. It got pulled by TSA, and I just remember he sees on the screen where to look. He opens that pocket, looks at it, gives me like a little nod, and like closes his eyes, and slightly, chuckles to himself, closes it. It doesn't say a word, just hands it right back to me, and he was like, "Have a nice trip." And then I just remember I was walking away, and I turned around, and he was like showing the guy on the screen, and like they were both laughing. It was like this giant pink dildo that I.
You made their day.
I know.
You made their day. I cannot tell you how many awkward run-ins I've had in TSA. There's one that jumps out. I was coming back from like a trade show where I had a booth at a table, and so a ton of products and a ton of samples, and my bag weighed too much, and so I'm like in the middle of the airport. I think I was in Atlanta. I'm in the middle of the airport with this huge suitcase like strewn open, lube samples everywhere, trying to like furiously shove them in my purse and in my carry-on, and people around me were like, "What is this bitch doing?" But I was like, I'm not going to throw it away.
No.
That's good product.
It's good product.
Maybe
it's
give
good
it away
lube.
to the TSA agents. Here's some samples.
Thank you for your service. Here you
Yes.
go.
Check out One More Play.
Yeah, it
They
was
honestly probably
pretty
need to get
funny.
laid, yeah.
But I will say that that's one of the main reasons. So our clit vibrator, the one that's called I Come First, we were very specific about creating like a custom silicone carrying case for TSA. Or like if you have kids or whatever and you're like worried about leaving your vibrator out, the case, you wouldn't know it's a vibrator looking at it. And it's super helpful when you're like traveling or taking it through security or whatever, because
That is exactly the
get
one I was
weird.
looking at when I opened the package that you sent us, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be great for me."
it's very useful. It's
Yeah.
great for travel.
There was one. Which one is it? The Love Oil. I think it's too big to take because I'm only going to do carry on in a backpack. So I think I'm going to take some of it and put it in another container so I can still have some with me when I go. But yeah, no, I'm all for
Do it.
something that's like easy to travel with. It's not going to get flagged by TSA. Yeah.
100%. Okay, pro tip though, a lot of people think the TSA limit is 3 ounces. It is 3.3. So you can technically bring Love Oil through
it
TSA.
is?
Yeah, it's 3.3 ounces. So it is TSA compliant. If the bottle's too big and you don't have enough space, then for sure do that. But
Okay.
yeah, you can bring your full bottle of lube through TSA. Yeah.
Well, then I might
just in case.
do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
I always thought it was just 3 ounces flat.
Everybody thinks that, but it's 3.3. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's just easier to remember that it's 3 ounces. But
And is
yeah,
that why
got a
you
little
made
room.
it 3.3 ounces? Amazing.
Yeah.
I actually did
That's
the other one.
changed everything. I'm like, wait a minute.
Don't
perfume.
shortchange yourself with that 0.3 ounces. Okay, it's there for a reason.
One of our friends got married recently, and I did give them the one that comes in the carton.
Yes, the shag juice.
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes,
good.
yes, yes. I haven't tried the disco ball.
The disco stick.
Yeah, the disco stick.
It's a great vibrator.
Okay.
Give it a try when you're ready. Not quite as travel friendly because it is bigger. It is
Yeah,
designed for G-spot stimulation. So that's
Yeah.
like kind of the sister vibrator where it's meant for internal. But it's a great toy. It's a great toy. That's like,
And that one's really fun.
yeah.
And that's what, like, I love the design of it
Yeah.
because kind of like what you were saying earlier, it's just like bringing kind of more of that like playful energy into the bedroom.
It's fun and it's cute
Yeah.
and it's pink and there's a disco ball and, it should
I'm
be
gonna
fun.
take it to my partner and I are also long distance. He lives,
he
in,
lives
San Diego. But I'm like slowly bringing
Yep.
like products to his house so that I can just have some there and I don't have to lug it with me every time.
Yeah, it's
So
like that
definitely-
classic, do you have a drawer at their place? And it's like, well, you're going to have a drawer of vibrators.
No,
Like,
exactly. I'm already starting that journey.
Yeah,
And it's been
I love
going
that.
very well.
I love that.
I'm curious, is there anything that and if it's, product development you don't want to talk about, totally get it. But like what's, like a dream product that you'd love to have, like bring onto the line?
So I'm super interested, like jumping back to what we were talking about earlier, really interested in this conundrum of women's arousal and libido, and how many women come to us and say, you know, I really want to work on this. I really want to spend more time like improving my sex life, but the desire is just not there. And what do I do about it? Been looking at it for a long time. It's not a super simple problem to solve because women's bodies are quite complex. What works for one person isn't going to work for the next person. You know, our level of sensitivity and all of that is like very broad in terms of how much it can change. So I don't have a solution that you're going to see in the very near future, but it's something that I'm really excited about. And I think there's a real need there. Like there's certain products on the market that do help, but I don't think anybody has solved it in a way that has such a mass appeal.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're working on. It's much more complex than, you know, men's arousal, which essentially just comes down to blood flow, right? So it's like,
no, it's true.
It's-
And actually,
yeah.
I mean, like when you walked in, we were filming the ad for Joy Mode. And so basically that's like a pre-workout for men. And it's like designed more for sex where it like gets the blood flowing. So like, you know, it's different than, you know, like taking a pill, but essentially it's still a supplement that like helps men kind of prepare for that. And I've loved working with them. You know, we haven't tried the product because it's designed for men and I just don't know what that would necessarily do to women. But I was like, I think about it all the time when we talk about them, is that like, I would love something that like, you know, helps like with our blood flow as well to like, for example, you know, the clitoris is 4-5 inches long in total and the ends of it like completely engorge in blood. So like, that's also a matter of blood flow. And, you know, for arousal, it can take anywhere from like 10 to 40 minutes to get like that clitoral area like fully engorged and aroused and like really ready to go. But like when you do, I know for me at least, like, 'cause ever since I've discovered that, like that's what I focus on in like kind of my arousal state is like really kind of getting the whole clit area ready. And so I'm just like, okay, is there anything for like the blood flow there? You know, I understand it probably works a little bit different than it does for a man, but you know, is there a pre-workout we could take?
and that's certainly part of it. And I think it's also like stress and mental relaxation and an emotional component. And I don't mean to like downplay or invalidate like issues that male bodies have either, right? Because like ED or PE or whatever can be really challenging for folks. But the solution is very straightforward and also like doesn't tend to carry many negative outcomes, right? Like if you're a guy and you get Joy Mode or, you know, Cialis, Viagra, whatever, pretty straightforward solve, not something that that is going to have a lot of side effects. And women, like there's a pharmaceutical product that's expected to help, but it's also like very understudied and under-resourced. And so the criteria that women have to meet to qualify for that type of pharmaceutical is pretty narrow.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's also just like, what are things that I would love to live in a world where there were solutions for women that didn't require like a visit to the doctor and
That's
a
what I was gonna say
prescription.
too. Yeah, because like, you know, Joy Mode or like I know even some of the pills like it's really easy to get for me. So easy. Whereas for us, it never feels that way.
It doesn't feel that way. The supplement space is also kind of weird. It's like not to rant, but it's also really unregulated, and there's a lot of bad shit in like the world of supplement. But either way, I just see this like future where it's like, oh, women aren't just enjoying sex, but they're also like wanting to have it more and like have a solution if they are like going through a period where their libido is low.
Because I am so over the narrative that women don't want to have sex. Like, and I've talked about
No, we all do.
Yeah.
More than men.
the way that everyone's been conditioned to think is like, oh, they're not that way. But really, like, once you really make a woman feel safe, it's like a Pandora's box that you really can never close.
Totally. And it's the feeling safe thing. I think that's the thing is when I talk to women who like speak about their sex life in a really negative way, I'm like, oh, I don't think you're having good sex, because if you were with a partner that like made you feel really respected and cared for and like excited about exploring, it's a whole new world.
Yeah.
You know,
You'd be out doing them. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd probably be even hornier.
yeah, totally.
100%.
Totally.
I agree. Maybe make the product name Feel Safe.
We will take that to a creative brainstorm, but we'll work on it. They're going to be like, is this pepper spray? Like, or is this like a horny pill? What's going on?
Yeah, I was like, no, maybe not. That was just me being silly. But
I'm curious. When we were talking about all of this, it made me think about how, like, at the beginning of 2024, Kimi and I both had like sexual goals for the year.
I don't even remember those.
I remember mine,
What was yours?
and I think it'll actually, it has like finally started. Mine was to actually like have emotionally connective sex with someone.
Wait, was mine that too?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Oh,
love
and then
that.
there's something I wanted to try with feet. Oh, I wanted someone to come on my feet. I've never had that.
You've never had that?
Mm-mm. Oh, have you?
Cool.
Yes.
I'm just surprised that you haven't.
I love that. But
I had cum drip onto my foot the other day. Does that?
Not intentional, though.
no, I don't know. It like, because like people usually like they aim for those spots. Like it would be
Yeah.
good for feet. Anyways, those are my two goals. Very opposite ends of the spectrum. But what would you categorize, like, if you could think of like the sexual goal for either like woo or even personal, whichever, like what would it be?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have any personal sexual goals at the moment. I definitely have like kind of a running bucket list, I would say, but it's not like, oh, this is a thing that I have to do. It's more just like, here's shit that looks fun to try. For the business, I mean, I think our main goal is just like helping women have a voice in the bedroom. And that's difficult to measure like
Love
at a
that.
mass scale, but we have a lot of anecdotal evidence about it. Like we have a really strong line of communication with our customers. And so I have a good sense that the products we have today help them do that. But we always say like sex is about communication and we're here to help women find their voice. And I think that, for us, we're like deep in this world. We talk about sex all day. We meet cool people who like can teach us a lot about how to have better sex. And it's easy to kind of get in this little LA sex bubble and forget how big of a problem it still is.
Yeah.
And it is still very, very much a problem, I think, for a lot of people like in this country, but particularly a lot of women.
That's actually something I have to remind myself because I know what you mean about getting stuck in that bubble because I'm in the sexual wellness space like through my job and like, when I go to trade shows and things like that, it's like, oh, this is all so normalized. Everyone's doing so great, and then I think about it and I'm like, no, this is just the people in LA.
Right. It becomes this feedback loop.
Yeah.
And then,
we have products that are like available at the stores that are like great and really, healthy and all of that. But then, you go to Middle America and they are still only on KY.
Oh yeah. If they're lucky. If they're lucky, they're on KY. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, whatever the gas station has available. So anyways, the bubble can definitely be real. But I love that you said a voice. Because when you were talking about that, my mind was like, I thought immediately you were going to say orgasm, but then you said voice. And I was like, oh, that's such like a beautiful perspective.
Yeah. And it's just, I think about having agency over what happens to your own body and not like, there's so many ways I think that young women are conditioned to just be a prop and just like show up to a sexual experience as like, a tool for him to achieve orgasm. And that's just not the way that it has to be. And I don't think it's the way that it should be, but there's a lot of unlearning that has to happen, I think, for some folks to get there. So
I love that.
yeah.
What a beautiful perspective. They chose the perfect CEO.
Oh my gosh.
Way to go.
absolutely.
Whatever
Yes.
board of directors or whoever was involved in that decision, congratulations.
Oh my gosh.
No, you are amazing and
Well,
like so inspiring.
I'm just so glad that we met and I had so much fun with you. And I think this is a bit embarrassing, but I think that when I met you both, I was like asking for advice on a little dildo conundrum. And you guys were like, oh, there's a solution. Here's what you need.
yes.
And I was like, these
What
girls
was it?
are real.
No, I'm blanking on it.
The for putting.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we still have one of those at home?
You just have to send me a link to it.
Yeah.
But I just loved that we were immediately in a safe enough space where I could be like, here's a problem. I need help. Like, I know a lot about sex toys, but this is a problem I have not run into before.
I do need
Please
to
make it
send you
better.
that.
Yes, I remember that now. And that's the thing, we've been obviously in the sexual wellness space for years now with the pod and everything, and I'm still learning.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I love about it is that like you are constantly learning and there is so much to like continue to learn and explore in it. So it's great. Yeah. So I just want to say thank you for the work that you do.
Yes.
Like I said,
you are an inspiration.
Yes, absolutely. I wish you all the best with Woo and the brand. And so, would you like to plug yourself? Where can people find, whether it be you or the brand itself?
Totally. So woomoreplay.com, woo, W-O-O, moreplay.com. Would love to give your audience a code so they can try some Woo products. Would
absolutely.
definitely recommend the coconut love oil.
Yes.
It's the only thing that I'll fuck with. It's like the best oil-based lube that you could ever try.
Amazing.
Yeah. What do we want to do? DT fam.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So let's do DT fam. It'll get you 20% off.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're on Instagram. We're on social. I'm pretty offline because I'm a weirdo, but go
No,
follow
that's totally
Woo
fair.
and
Yeah.
yeah. And thanks so much
Is it
for
at
having
Woo
me.
More Play on Instagram?
It's at Woo More Play. You do have to type it in exactly because we're constantly shadow banned.
Oh,
You know,
no.
thanks
Yeah.
Meta, but
Yeah.
we
Fuck
make
them.
it work.
Okay.
Love that.
Yeah.
And again, thank you so much. We really love you, and we really connected at that event, and I'm just so happy.
Yeah.
That she put us together for that because it was just like an instant like
The panel that
vibe.
never happened.
Oh yeah, the panel that
It was
never
like the instant trio of like petite angry women. In the best way.
Yes. I loved it. I agree. And guys, you know where to find us at Double Team Podcast, at Kimi and Nikki, and then our website's got everything as well, doubleteampodcast.com. So we'll see you next time. And don't forget, use code DTFAM at Woo More Play.
Yep, and wear condoms.
Thank you.
Thank you.